two members of Michael Jackson's inner circle. Many may have known him better than even his famous family. Lavelle Smith and Michael Prince worked with Michael as he prepared to go on tour and were with him in those fateful final days. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
I, having followed Michael a long time and reported on him and seen him in concert, so I know how integral you guys were to his world. Strange times for you, it must have been.
Very strange.
Since his death. I mean, how would you sum up your feelings?
Sadness, but I do feel really blessed because the happiness that he left with me was all the work we did together. You know, that won't go away. But the sadness that we don't get to create anymore with him. That's sad.
And you were dancing with him since 1987.
Yeah. Smooth Criminal was actually the first video. The first tour was Bad, and then Dangerous, and then History, and then we started working on This Is It. It wasn't called that in 2008 in Vegas, and that was going to be, he was excited. You know, we were both bringing out costumes, picking props, you know, thinking about what that show could be, had no name. And just had a great time for 6 months in Vegas, working like crazy. He was excited, I was excited. You know, whenever he gets excited, I get excited, so.
Michael, could you quite believe what happened? I mean, you guys have been working with Michael Jackson right to the end. Was it a massive shock? I mean, were there any signs that he was, you know, I've heard contrary views. I've heard that he was very frail, that the stuff you didn't see in the movie, he was fainting, he was all this kind of thing. That's what some of the family believe. What did you see?
All of 2008, I was in Vegas along with Lavelle. He'd show up on dance days, I'd show up on music days, and I just had the feeling Michael's getting ready for his close-up. He just started looking better. You could tell his energy was going up. And then in 2009, extremely excited, you know, gave us a speech about how important this was to him, that he could spend the rest of his life doing his greatest hits, but that's not what he wanted to do. He says, I want to write new songs, I want to have better songs than I've ever had, we're going to add those to the show. And I really have never seen him that energized before, that in the moment before, right up until the last night when I gave him a hug and he gave me a hug, you know, and he felt strong. He said, tomorrow we're going to discuss all the vocals for the tour, you know, and that was the last time I spoke to him.
I mean, from a dance point of view, from a voice point of view, where was he, do you think, given all the experience you've had with him? Was he ready to go?
He was, in my opinion, there was no stopping.
To do 50 shows?
Well, yeah, 50, but at first,
remember, his pace, not to interrupt, but his pace was going to be two and a half shows a week. His family was going to be there. He was going to have a house in London, outside of London, and we had a good chat, he and I, about that, how this was the hard part. Rehearsing is the hard part, you know, 4, 5, 6 nights a week, doing videos during the day. Once we got to the UK, once we started the shows, that was going to be almost a vacation, truly. You know, I don't want to say that because they were going to pay me, but I mean, honestly, it would have been, and he knew.
Because originally it was 10 shows.
Yeah.
Then it got made into 50. I remember that happening and thinking, oh, wow, you know, Michael, you know, you're talking about a guy who's not as young as he used to be. 50 shows is pretty demanding, even if you're only doing 2, 3 shows a week.
Absolutely.
I remember him saying there's 10 shows, it's going to be fantastic. And then I do remember a day where the 10 shows turned to 34. He said, Lavelle, you know, there's 34 shows, I got to do them. That seemed to be a little bit like, you know, wow, this is a lot. And then I remember it kept growing. But what I remember is that he was really honored that that many people wanted to see him. Mm-hmm. And I
had tickets to his first night.
Yeah, I mean,
I was excited. I mean, I saw him in Paris once. It was the best concert I ever saw.
Man, and he was just honored that people wanted to see. So, as much as maybe the 34 or the 50 shows were like, oh man, this is going to be crazy, the smile on his face showed me that he felt so honored that people really wanted to see him.
Did you ever, let me ask you a different question. Mm-hmm. Did you ever see him taking drugs of any kind?
Never.
So it seems to have been a very closed world. What we're hearing from all this trial that's happened and from interviews of people involved is that there were two Michaels. There was the Michael that people thought they knew, and there was the guy who, chronic pain from when he had the terrible Pepsi accident, and then to counter this, the terrible insomnia he used to get, mixed with the pressure and everything else, and so he got more and more into sleeping medication, ending up with Demerol, with what happens with the pain, and then the propofol for the sleeping. But you put it all together, and he was leading 2 lives. I mean, there was a nighttime Michael Jackson that you guys, I assume, didn't see.
Did not see, and honestly, most of the time when we were with him, I don't think that nighttime Michael Jackson was around because he had the kids around. we were at the ranch. We were at a hotel, almost like a vacation, and we were working on new songs. And there was no pressure on him. He didn't have to get up the next day if he didn't want to. He didn't have to perform the next day. I think that pressure comes into play when there's a show, you know, when there's a huge tour.
Exactly.
Let's take a little break. I want to come back and talk to you about the dreadful day that you both found out that Michael had died, and how you see his legacy developing, how you'd like it to develop.
Yeah, it's cool.